Hey guys, another video for the personal safety playlist. Not sure how long this playlist will go. Seems there's a couple of people are interested in this topic, but not too many, so we'll see how it goes. It might die off yet. Just let me move you a little bit. There we go. Okay, personal safety, personal security, public transport. So we mentioned on the other video, if you're going to catch public transport, it's really wise to plan it well. So if you know that the train leaves or the bus leaves at 12:45, it takes 10 minutes to walk there, so you leave home about 12 o'clock, so that you get there in time with a couple minutes to spare, but you're not spending a lot of time sitting around there. So that's assuming that the train station or the bus stop is not, particularly busy or not particularly safe. So if you want to be safe there, because what you don't want to do is arrive really early and be sitting around an empty train station or an empty bus stop, because that's time that something could happen to you. So time it so that you're not wasting time there. And at the other end, have some planning too, so that if you know what time you're going to arrive at the other end, have a plan. So if it's going to be late at night and it's going to be a nice quiet area somewhere that you arrive, you want to have a plan at that end. So maybe you're organised for someone to meet you there so that you can walk home together or walk to wherever together, or a taxi or some plan, so that you don't find yourself hopping off the train or the bus at the other end in some really quiet, sort of dangerous area where you could be vulnerable. So planning, good planning at both ends, at the getting on end and the getting off end. What else? Okay, so on the on the bus or the train or whatever, it's best to be sitting where the bus driver or the train driver or the train guard can see you. So in Japan, you can actually be right next to the train driver, but it's actually the train guard or the train staff, the staff on the train. If you've got a choice, it's good to sit where they can see you. And the same with the bus. If you can sit up the front of the bus, so the bus driver can see you easily and hear you, see you in the rear vision mirror, it's the best place to be. With trains and buses too, if possible, you want to sit either on your own in an aisle seat, which will sort of make it more difficult for someone to plonk themselves down beside you. So on your own in an aisle seat, or sit yourself down next to someone that looks really safe. So an old lady or a young lady or someone that doesn't look dangerous. Choose your passenger, because it has happened that people have been accosted by the person sitting beside them on trains and buses. There was a nasty situation in Japan a while ago on a bullet train where a guy sat down. So a girl was sitting next to a window and the guy just sat himself down next to her and produced a knife and forced her to go off to the bathroom with him. So if she'd sat on the aisle seat, that might not have happened, or if she'd sat down next to someone safer, it would not have happened. So you want to avoid that. What else? Taxis. Best way to get a taxi, if possible, is to order it by phone, because in most countries, most taxi systems are computerized, and when you order a taxi by phone, it records the driver, the taxi number, so that they know who the driver was, and the driver knows that. So when you order a taxi, the driver knows that the taxi company knows who he is, which means if anything happens to you, if you make a complaint or if you disappear and the police are looking for you and they call the taxi company, they'll know who the driver was. So that's why ordering a taxi by phone is a good way to go, because there are stories of people being attacked or robbed or raped or whatever by taxi drivers. So we can't always assume that the taxi driver is going to be safe. So ordering a taxi by phone is a good way to do that, because he knows that everybody knows who he was. If you can't do that, another way to do it is if you're getting into a taxi, if you're with some friends and you're getting into a taxi, particularly for ladies, I mean, unfortunately, as we mentioned in one of the other videos, ladies are more vulnerable just because the fact that they're ladies means that they're open to things like rape and things like that, which, guys, usually our risk is that they want our stuff, they want our money, or they want something else. Whereas with girls, the risk can be that they just want you, which is unfortunate, but we've got to be realistic and realise that is the case. So So when you're getting into a taxi, if you're just hailing a taxi or getting in at a taxi rank and you're just getting to some random taxi, if you're with some people, the best thing to do is, in a really friendly way, say to the driver, so lots of countries, they have the taxi's number on the windscreen, or they have it somewhere else on the taxi. Best thing you can do is to, in a really friendly way, you don't want to insult the guy, or whoever it is driving, but look into the taxi, and look at the number, look at the taxi number, and then say to the driver, what's your number there? Oh, I see, it's 270. Okay, thank you. And then turn to your friend and say, oh, just to make a note, it's 270. And okay, see you later, and get in the taxi. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. You don't have to make a big deal about it. But as long as the taxi driver knows that you've given his number to the people that you're with. And it can be done in a light way. I've done this whenever I put a person in a taxi. I've done this. So particularly when I used to live in Australia, if I was putting a lady in a taxi to send her home, I'd do it every time. You know, just put her in the taxi and, oh, driver, please, thank you very much. And by the way, driver, what's your number there? 270, thank you very much. You read it yourself. You don't ask him and not read it yourself. You read it yourself, but you say it out loud. What's your number there? I see, 270, thank you. Okay, see you later. And off he goes. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. It doesn't have to insult the man. It's just, you know, and these guys know, they know that you're just being cautious. And if the guy's an innocent guy, he's not going to feel bad about that. He's just going to accept that. So that's the good way, so that other people know which taxi you got into. Another thing is, to an extension of this, is what sometimes happens is some girls get incredibly drunk and then get in a taxi and then disappear. So with all of this, public transport or walking or anything for your safety and security, being drunk or being heavily under the influence of something makes you more vulnerable, of course, because you're going to be less aware of your circumstances. You're going to be, you know, something nasty starts to develop, you might not even notice. And then if something nasty does go down, you know, if you're drunk or stoned or whatever it is, you might not be able to handle it as well as you could have if you weren't. So, you know, unfortunately, we just have to choose our time and place for going hard. You know, if you really want to drink heavily, or if you really want to, you know, do whatever you want to do, just choose the time and place. You know, obviously the best, you want to be in a safe place. If you're going to be drinking heavily or getting stoned or whatever you want to be doing, you want to be in a safe place, and you want to be able to stay in that safe place. Because it's all very well to do it in someone's house or do it somewhere where you know you're safe, but then at the end of the night, if you've got to walk out and go home, then you might not be in a safe place while you're heading home. So that's no good. You know, the last thing you want to do, and there's a million stories about this, you know, and guys too. You know, guys are at a bigger chance of getting involved in some violence or getting robbed or something if they're really drunk or really stoned or something. So it's just better not to do it. Better to choose your time and place. If you know you're going to be travelling by public transport to get home, or you know you're going to be walking some places to get home, it's better just to take it easy, not overdo it, you know, and just choose your time and place. And then another time when you're at home and you're staying home, or you're at a friend's house and you're staying at the friend's house, then you can go for it. Or if you're travelling home in a group, you know, it's sort of almost like you need a designated driver, even if you're not driving. So even if you're all travelling home by public transport, you really need to have somebody who keeps it together. If you're travelling in a group, and it's always better to travel in a group if you can, but you know, best to have at least one person who's got it together, who can help you make good decisions, you know, going home. And again, being in a group is usually the best thing to do when you're moving around, traveling around, but you've got to choose your company well if you're going to be doing that, because what you don't want to be doing, whether you're male or female, is traveling with a group of people that involves troublemakers, because, you know, some people just attract trouble like a magnet, you know. And if you're with a group of people and a couple of those people are prone to getting involved in violence, or, you know, getting involved in dramas with other people, you know, some people, when they get drunk or stoned or whatever, particularly drunk, you know, love to get involved in dramas, or just have a tendency to get involved in dramas, and you really want to avoid people like that. You know, if there's a group of people and you know that those guys You know, they're always getting into trouble, they're always getting into violence, and you hear stories like this all the time. You know, oh, there was the time where I got beaten, I got in this fight, and there was a time where I got in this fight, and there was a time when I got in this fight. Yeah, no. You know, people like that obviously don't know how to avoid dramas. They tend to be drama magnets, and you just don't want to be involved with them. So better off staying away from them. So, likewise on buses and trains and things, you know, if you get into a bus or train or something and there's a bad vibe, you know, move to another spot that's not so bad, doesn't feel so bad, or if there's people there that look like they're going to be trouble, just get away from them. As always, you should have your charged up phone on you, so you should be able to, you know, call a taxi. If you've got someone on the bus or the train that's making you uncomfortable and you're a bit worried they might get off when you do, just get on your phone and organise for someone to meet you at the other end. And if there isn't anyone available to meet you at the other end, call a taxi and get them to meet you at the other end. Because, you know, if there's someone there, you get off the bus or the train and you can get straight into a car, then that's definitely a good solution to that one. So anyway, that was public transport. Hope somebody found that interesting and useful. If so, we might do another one. More topics on this, safety and security at home, and probably the next one. Anyway, hope that was useful to somebody. More videos coming soon.